Right, we come to the oral statement. I call the Secretary of State, Lisa Nandy.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. And with permission, I'd like to make a statement about the government's support for filmmaking in the UK. Film is one of the great British success stories of the last 30 years. Ever since Gordon Brown created the film tax credit back in 2007, this amazing industry has created jobs and growth across the UK and flown the flag for British creativity across the world. Our government has huge ambition for the film sector, and today we're introducing secondary legislation that will put rocket boosters under this growing industry and unlock the potential of our incredible independent film sector. The UK has some special advantages that give us a natural competitive edge. Thanks to the creativity and imagination of our authors, playwrights and publishers, we have some of the best stories to tell and take to the screen, helped by some of the best storytellers, the directors, scriptwriters and cinematographers in the world. Against some of the most incredible backdrops, from the Welsh valleys to the northeast coastline, and acting talent that is second to none and breathes life into those stories. Our film industry is one of our great economic and cultural success stories. It's worth £1.36 billion and employs more than 195,000 people and has created true icons, James Bond, Harry Potter and my personal favourite, Paddington Bear. Our government has three aims for our film industry. Firstly, we want to attract the investment for UK filmmakers to make the best films in the world. Secondly, we want UK audiences to see films that reflect their lives and their communities, and that means telling a wide diversity of British stories that draws on the rich cultural inheritance in every region and nation. And thirdly, we want the UK to be the best place in the world to make films because we have the right ingredients: the investment, the talent, the technical skills, the sound stages, the creative imagination and the right fiscal and regulatory environment. That's why this government will do everything in our power to ensure that the fiscal and regulatory environment matches the ambition of filmmakers and studios around the world. We want them to invest in great British filmmaking. But the key to maintaining that advantage is an internationally competitive tax regime. And this, I think, is something that is beyond party politics. As members will know, tax incentives for film were first introduced by the last Labour government in 2007, and it was the previous Conservative government who followed suit with the announcement of a planned UK independent film tax credit in the last spring budget. We've heard loud and clear from industry their concerns that any further delays to introducing this secondary legislation, even to the end of the month, might mean investments in the UK independent films are lost. So I am glad to announce that we have today laid the necessary statutory instrument under the negative process for the independent film tax credit to take effect. It means eligible films with a budget of up to £23.5 million will be able to claim enhanced audio-visual expenditure credit at a rate of 53% on their qualifying expenditure up to £15 million, which is higher than the standard 34% rate for other films. The regulations set out the eligibility criteria for film production companies who will be able to apply from the 30th of October. This government doesn't underestimate how important this is. Big blockbuster movies are an important part of the mix, but independent films are every bit as important, both for British talent that they allow to shine and for the untold stories that they bring into the spotlight. Too often people do not see themselves and their communities reflected in the story we tell ourselves about ourselves as a nation, and this government is determined that that is going to change. Later today, the 68th London Film Festival will open with the world premiere of Blitz, written and directed and produced by one of our most successful British directors, Steve McQueen. Set in England during World War II, it's an example of exactly what film can do. It brings together top talent, both on screen and off. And it showcases the nation's history through storytelling and highlights on screen our beautiful country, from London's East End to Hull's Old Town. Our independent film sector has produced films like Pride, The King's Speech and Bend It Like Beckham that shows our heritage, our communities and our culture to the world. and acts as a springboard from the grassroots for world-class UK talent, both on-screen and behind the scenes. But while major film production has flourished, smaller budget independent films have not received sufficient support over the last decade. They've faced multiple challenges: rising production costs, crew shortages, declining revenues, which have hampered the growth of this vital sector. While too much of our creative industries have traditionally been concentrated in just one part of our country, independent film thrives everywhere, given the chance. So this uplift will not only boost creativity, but create jobs, growth and investment in every nation and region, and through this will help the independent film sector to reach its full potential. While this has been designed to support and target British independent filmmakers, I'm glad to say that it is also open to qualifying official co-productions, because film and television co-production is a key way in which the UK increases its cultural ties and collaboration with Europe and the rest of the world. Mr. Speaker, this government will go further still to support this critical industry. The skills shortage that has been ignored for too long acts as a brake on the ambitions of this incredible sector. That's why this government launched Skills England, to bring the skills we need for a decade of national renewal to our communities, business and country. We'll focus apprenticeships once more on young people to set them up to succeed and help fill the 25,000 vacancies in the creative sector. The Secretary of State for Education is overhauling the apprenticeship levy to provide better career opportunities for young people, building on the success of existing high-quality apprenticeships in the creative industries, and we are working closely with Skills England to ensure that the new flexibilities announced by the Prime Minister last month offer shorter apprenticeships and an improved offer for a creative skills pathway for young people embarking on careers in this sector. Every child should have the chance to live a richer, larger life and to consider a career in the arts. In addition to this, the Ministry of Housing, Communities and Local Government is keeping the government's mission to deliver economic growth at front of mind when making decisions about planning applications. And I'm pleased to announce to the House that yesterday MHCLG recovered an application for planning permission for Marlow Film Studios in Buckinghamshire. The merits of that application will now be reviewed by their ministers in detail before reaching a decision. And finally, Mr. Speaker, to close, next week the government will host the International Investment Summit, where industry leaders, investors and businesses from across the world will come together to put the UK back at the global table and kickstart a decade of economic renewal. As a critical part of this, our creative industries will be absolutely at the heart. This government is committed to ensuring the UK is a first-choice destination for film production. We're backing up those words with actions today. Britain is open for business and creativity is back at its heart, and I commend this statement to the House.
Shadow Secretary of State, Julia Lopez.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And I'm really very grateful to get my first chance at the dispatch box formally to congratulate the Right Honourable Lady for Wigan on her new job. After the electoral loss of the erstwhile member for Bristol West, Thangam Debonair, I know that it was unexpected. And I know, given those circumstances, it's got to be difficult to have in a number two someone who has greeted her leapfrog into the DCMS job with all the enthusiasm of Scar when Simba returns to the Pride Lands. But I, for one, am glad that out of the ashes of Thangam's tragedy, a new era of lion and hyena did not come to pass. Now, I'd like to congratulate her too on a tremendous achievement. With 100 days of Labour looming, she has the honour of announcing on day 97 Labour's first decent policy. And we know it's decent because it's a Conservative policy. So do not be fooled. Today's SI puts into effect the extra support for independent film that we, the Conservatives, brought in at the March budget. Our announcement followed months of careful work with brilliant organisations like PACT and the BFI, and it was welcomed by industry titans like Chris Nolan, Barbara Broccoli, Steve McQueen and Ridley Scott. At the time, it was dubbed a game changer for UK filmmakers and British storytelling, and the most significant policy intervention since the 90s by the BFI. The Chancellor and the Culture Secretary now say this is all part of their plan for growth, but it was our plan for growth. As far as I know, they haven't got one, and even their plan for tax seems to be falling apart, as socialist utopia of opposition hits the reality of governing. No, this was the latest in a seriously successful suite of Conservative creative tax reliefs that mean this new Labour government inherits a thriving industry to steward. Now, I'm genuinely glad that something has finally been announced ahead of the London Film Festival. It's a tremendous showcase of UK talent that we backed with £1.7 million from our creative sector vision. Through it, we have gifted the Culture Secretary something to say, the Chancellor something to back rather than tax, the Prime Minister another sparkling event to go to, and the Home Secretary a new police escort to fund. But it's taken too long, and the consistent feedback we're getting from every DCMS sector is very simple. What is going on? Where is the plan? So I asked the Culture Secretary, if she gets invited to the latest gallery opening, will she finally commit to continuing the museums and galleries exhibition tax relief at the extended rate, as we committed in the March budget? If she gets invited on another roller coaster, will she give clarity on whether we're going to secure investment in a new film theme park in Bedfordshire in time for the investment summit? If the Prime Minister gets a bit more time in Arsenal's exec suite, will the footballing world get clarity on how this government wishes to regulate it? And can she reply to my letter sent weeks ago that asked all these questions and more? Now, in her media round this morning, the Secretary of State claimed that Gordon Brown was behind the success of the British film industry. Does the Secretary of State remember that in 2013, 2014, 2015, 2016, 2022 and 2024, Labour voted against our film, video game and TV tax reliefs? Does she accept that regardless of the positive investment environment we created, it's the ingenuity of Britain's filmmakers, costume designers, writers, runners, researchers, post-production talent and actors who have made the UK the best place in the world to make films? But we cannot take it for granted. So with the Irish government announcing last week that Ireland will receive its own boosted tax incentives for films under €20 million, can she commit to keeping a very close eye on international competitors so we don't lose our edge? And finally, her press release says, the new measures are the latest in a series of interventions from the government to drive growth, which is creating the conditions for confident investment and trusted partnership with business. Can the Culture Secretary name any other growth measures Labour have revealed that are not rebadged Conservative policies and announcements, or things that won't drive growth, i.e. anything that's been announced by Ed Miliband?
I thank the Honourable Lady for her warm words of welcome at the beginning. I think that's perhaps the beginning and end of the consensus that we might be able to reach today. If I could just highlight a few areas where I think we are in agreement. First of all, I think we're in agreement that today's announcement is a thoroughly good thing for the British film industry. Secondly, I think that we are in agreement that there are a number of initiatives that this government is taking forwards, including the football bill, which she referenced, and various other issues relating to the competitiveness of our creative industries on a global stage that are welcome and ought to receive cross-party support. But can I just say to her, she mentioned the fact that the Conservative government had brought in this independent film tax credit at the last budget. If that were true, we wouldn't be needing to legislate today. The truth is that the Conservative government did what the Conservative government did for 14 years. It talked a good game and then did absolutely nothing to deliver for the people of this country. And she says that we voted against film tax credits, Madam Deputy Speaker, but the truth is, as she well knows, we didn't vote against film tax credits. They were our idea, they were our initiative in 2007, and in fact it was her party that opposed them in the first place. If they'd had their way in 2007, our British film industry would not be where it is today, which is rivalling Hollywood as one of the best film industries in the world. She knows full well that we supported every one of those measures that the Conservatives belatedly, after years of opposing, had to be dragged kicking and screaming by the film industry to support. But she also knows that we voted against successive Conservative finance bills because, as we're now discovering, now that we've had the chance to open the books, there was no money attached to any of these measures. It was a hoax and a con trick practised on the British people. And I think, frankly, if I might say so, and I have a great deal of respect for the Honourable Lady, and I'm grateful to her, not just for her welcome today and her warm words, but also for the support that she and others on the opposite benches have given me and the team to take up the mantle. But can I just say that if I'd left a sector that had 25,000 vacancies that they couldn't fill, if I'd left a legacy of creativity being erased from our communities in our classrooms, and most of all, if I'd left a £22 billion economic black hole that working class people are paying the price for up and down this country, if I'd done all of that and then had such a resounding rejection from the electorate only a few months ago, I think I'd be speaking with a little bit more humility from the dispatch box.
Clive Efford.
Madam Deputy Speaker, can I welcome this statement? When we met the film industry in round tables in the last Parliament, this was something that they consistently called for. So I'm absolutely delighted to see that this government is taking action. But can I just say on the issue of skills, 25,000 job vacancies within the creative industries. Do you agree with me that this is an opportunity if we can line up training in our sixth forms, in our FE colleges, to the skills that are required in the creative industries, to the T-levels and other skills that are being taught in those education centres, that we can create job opportunities for our generation.
Yeah. Can I thank him for that, and also thank him and put on record our thanks as a government for the work that he's done to champion opportunities for young people in his constituency and across the country. One of the things that matters very personally to our government is not just that we're putting rocket boosters under some of the fastest growing industries, the creative industries, outside of London and the South East and within London as well, that offer opportunities in every part of the country, but crucially that we make sure that young people in those communities can have those opportunities. That's why we've already kick-started the curriculum review to put art, sport, music and culture back at the heart of the curriculum where they belonged after the mindless cultural vandalism of the last 14 years. It's why we're reforming the apprenticeship levy, and it's why we're working very closely with industry to make sure that there are no limits on our ambition for young people so that we can match the ambition that they have for themselves.
The Liberal Democrat spokesperson Max Wilkinson.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. The Secretary of State mentioned my favourite film, and I promise that my contributions will always in this chamber be in the spirit of Paddington Bear and not Mr. Curry. Paddington 2 is the best film, as you know, after our as the member for the Rhondda will know after our exchange on Twitter. This is a positive statement, and we welcome the announcement, as we did when it was announced in the Finance Bill earlier this year. It's good to see the government following through on that. The creative industries are the heartbeat of British life, and the film industry is a powerful tool for soft power and for economic growth too. This is a first step, but our view is that that wider tax relief measures will be considered and should be considered in future. We believe that we need to address the skills gap by the reform of the apprenticeship levy. That's been mentioned, and that's a positive thing. We should transform that into a training and skills levy. What we need to do is address the barriers to finance suffered by so many in the creative industries. We hear about this regularly, particularly from smaller operations in the creative industries. We believe that creative enterprise zones will help regenerate cultural output across our regions and nations. And also we believe that this country should apply to join Creative Europe to boost funding options available. And I have three questions. In light of Ireland's announcement, is the Secretary of State satisfied that the announcement today gives enough of an advantage over our neighbours in Europe? On the subject of Europe, has the government considered the merits of enabling full participation in Creative Europe? And finally, what steps is the government taking to extend access to finance for the creative industries?
Well done. Can I thank him very much for his warm welcome for the measures announced today, although I have to say that the cross-party consensus is now completely broken down. In fact, not just across these benches, but on them, because Paddington 1 is a far superior film to Paddington 2. It turns out the Honourable Lady may have been right. Can I also welcome the issues that he raised, particularly around finance? We know as well that there is a major gap between the amount of finance that the creative industries are able to raise in different parts of the country. We also know that there's a gender gap that is a particular problem and something that our government is determined to address. And on the point about Creative Europe, he will doubtless know that our Minister for the Cabinet Office is currently involved in negotiations with Europe to try to build on the very paper-thin agreement that the last government secured. We're very keen to secure a closer relationship with our European friends and neighbours, but obviously those negotiations are ongoing, so it's not something that I can comment on at the present time.
Peter Dowd.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I have to say, A Black Hole sounds like a film that's going to be produced by the Shadow Chancellor and the Leader of the Opposition. Can I welcome this? And can I ask the Secretary of State to congratulate Steve Rotherham, the Mayor, the City Region Mayor of Liverpool, who's putting £17 million money into the Hollywood of the North project at the Littlewoods building, which will create 4,000 jobs, invested by the Liverpool City Mayor, a Labour Mayor, supported by my honourable friend the member for Wavertree, a Labour Member of Parliament, and supported by a Labour Council. Labour, 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 supporting the film industry.
Yeah, well, can I also take the opportunity to thank him for all the work that he's done to support the creative industries, both in Merseyside and actually up and down the length and breadth of the country. I was at Pinewood yesterday, where they spoke very highly of my honourable friend and the work that he's done to support our creative industries. And I share his enthusiasm for the work that Steve Rotherham is leading over in Merseyside. Just a few years ago, he took me to see the newly opened Shakespeare for the North, which is an incredible project, just a few streets from where the mayor grew up himself. He was told by the previous government that nobody would come to see Shakespeare in the north of England. How wrong he was. And I am very keen to support the work that both he and Tracy Brabin and other mayors in the north of England are doing through One Creative North. This is the most exciting project, Madam Deputy Speaker, to create a cultural corridor right up the north of England, building on the assets and the talent that exist in every part of our country, parts of the country that haven't been heard for far too long, but with this Labour government they will be heard.
Chair of the Select Committee, Dame Caroline Dinenage.
Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Speaker. First of all, I welcome the Secretary of State's words. I think the Select Committee worked hard to get that commitment to tax credits into the budget earlier this year, and it's very welcome to see she's implementing them at a time when investment in British, particularly low-budget British film is at the lowest ebb ever, so it's very timely. Our recollections of the previous government's achievement on the creative industries differ, and I think once she's had a little bit of time to get her feet under the table, she will see that she actually does have a hard act to follow when it comes to a commitment to the creative industries. Can I ask her a couple of questions? When does she expect the government to confirm the introduction of the VFX tax credits? They were also announced in the budget and had been consulted on. They are also desperately needed and very, very urgent. I'd be really grateful for an urgent response on that. Whether she's got any plans to look at the Enterprise Investment Scheme for film and high-end TV, also much needed to get that investment into British independent film and television. And finally, she spoke about the investment summit. Can she please confirm to me that the creative industry's role in that will not just be to add the stardust? They are such a fundamental and integral part of our industrial strategy. They contribute so much to the British economy. They must be there as a central focal point of her government's future industrial strategy.
Can I thank her very much? I know from her previous role on the Select Committee that she is a formidable chair, and I'm very much not looking forward to appearing in front of her at the earliest opportunity. Can I also say that she's absolutely right about the visual effects tax credit. We understand how important these reliefs are to the industry. We plan to provide an update as soon as we're able. Obviously, we have the spending review coming up very imminently, and there is work ongoing to make sure that we get our offer right to the creative industries as a whole, but we do understand the importance of that. On the Enterprise Investment Scheme that she asked about for high-end TV, I'm afraid it is a similar answer today, but I'd really welcome the chance to keep talking to her and to members of the committee once she has some. And on investment, the Investment Summit, I do appreciate her calling me Stardust. I don't think I've ever been called Stardust before. Or did she mean the people that we might bring along? However, what I would say is that she and I absolutely share the view that the creative industries are absolutely central to our economic growth agenda, and I'm really pleased to say that that is a view that is shared by the Prime Minister, the Chancellor of the Exchequer and the Secretary of State for Business and Trade, and she will see that at the Investment Summit next week and in the work that we release over the next few weeks.
Nick Smith.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Can I welcome this statement? As a recent chair of the all-party group on film and broader screen, can I applaud the work of the British film industry? They do a great job as a champion for this fantastic sector. Now, in Blaen Gwent and Rumley, we have the brilliant Cymru Creations, a local film company who help young people produce great films and learn this brilliant trade. But what more can the Secretary of State do to support SMEs in this sector? It's vital that we get behind them. Thank you.
Yeah, can I thank him for the role that he's played in helping to keep to fly the flag for the British film industry, and also join him in paying tribute to the work of the BFI, and particularly to Anne Roberts and Harriet Finney, who have done extraordinary work for the film industry and for our country. I very much share his sentiment about SMEs. I think the measures that we're announcing today will be a huge boost to SMEs, but this government is aware that there's more that we can do, and as we continue to build this exciting agenda with the British film industry, we will continue to talk to them and to make sure that we're meeting the needs of SMEs, the length and breadth of the country.
Sir John Whittingdale.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. While welcoming this statement, does the Secretary of State recognise that investment in the film industry depends on confidence and certainty, not least in the copyright protection regime? So can she make clear that the government does not intend to extend copyright exceptions to text and data mining, which would damage both the creative and the publishing industries massively?
Can I thank him for that question and for all the work that he's done over very many years in supporting and championing the creative industries and in challenging successive governments, as I know he will challenge us, sadly, on these issues. I absolutely agree with him that investment depends on confidence and certainty. It's one of the reasons why we've brought forward this measure now, rather than waiting a few more weeks until the spending review, because we heard the message loud and clear from the film industry that the longer they faced further delays, the less investment they were able to attract. I've noted his point about the copyright protection regime. In our view as a government, AA presents significant opportunities, but it also poses serious challenges for the creative industries. I'm delighted to say that our Minister of State at the Department of Culture, Media and Sport is also a Minister of State at the Department for Science, Innovation and Technology, and he is working at pace to try and resolve these issues.
Alex Barras-Curtis.
Speaker, and can I thank the Secretary of State for this announcement? The film industry and creative arts more generally play an important role in constituencies like mine in Cardiff West. Not only do the arts grow and boost our economies and enrich our communities, they also help close the opportunity gap in our societies by inspiring our future talents. So can the Secretary of State assure me that she will continue to support the entire creative industries with initiatives like this across all of our regions and nations, so that my constituents can take up the opportunity to become the next generation of Welsh film and TV talent?
Yeah, well, I haven't had the opportunity to formally welcome him to his place, but I'm very glad to see him as the new Member of Parliament for Cardiff West. He'll know that his predecessor in the role, Kevin Brennan, was an amazing champion for the creative industries and for the music industry in particular, and we miss him dearly. But I know that my honourable friend will be a worthy successor and has already proved himself to be such. The Cardiff is an incredible hub of creativity. The Cardiff Film Studio, amongst others, is showing exactly what can be done, and this government is absolutely determined to do everything that we can to support this incredible industry, and as I said to my honourable friend just a few moments ago, to make sure that young people growing up in Cardiff right now have the opportunity to go on and make a career in the creative industries. Who knows, the next Steve McQueens, the next Gurinder Chanders, the next Danny Boyles could be waiting right now, and this government is determined to unlock those opportunities for the next generation.
Joshua Reynolds.
Deputy Speaker, and thank you to the Secretary of State for her statement today. Bray Studios in my constituency has produced some fantastic pieces: the Rocky Horror Picture Show, Alien, and more recently, Rocket Man. However, the creative industries are crying out for support. Costs and funding are key issues facing them. Another key issue facing the creative industries, though, is that of skills. Now, the Secretary of State has already confirmed in her statement that the government is overhauling the apprenticeship levy. But is the Secretary of State confident that these reforms will fully suit the needs of the creative industries and the 25,000 vacancies in the sector?
Can I thank him for that? And he gave my honourable friend the opportunity to make perhaps the worst joke I've heard from him in at least a few hours. And can I thank him for raising the very important issue of skills as well. We are very, very focused on this because we have heard loud and clear from the creative industries that this is the break on an industry that is otherwise growing much faster than other parts of the economy, as well as the apprenticeship levy, which you referenced. We've already kick-started the curriculum review to put art, sport, music and creativity back at the heart of our classrooms where it belongs, and we're about to launch a piece of work looking at arts across the whole of the country to make sure that we're getting our offer right in communities as well. But on the very specific issue you asked me about the apprenticeship levy, we are confident that we're making the right reforms, and the reason that we're so confident is because we're working with industry, not just the big players in industry for whom the apprenticeship levy worked better, but the smaller organisations who need far more flexibility in the levy than is currently on offer. And we're confident that the work that we're doing, myself, the Education Secretary and others, in conjunction with the industry, is going to get that right.
Natasha Irons.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I welcome this government's commitment to the UK's film and creative industries and its commitment to growing our economy, our jobs and our skills across every corner of our nation. Now, London's most iconic borough of Croydon provides an amazing backdrop for filming here in the UK. So can I ask the Secretary of State what more can be done to promote Croydon as a filming location?
I mean, having visited Croydon, I'd say it promotes itself. But I also know that the honourable lady, my honourable friend, will be an incredible champion for her community. She's already proving it by singing the virtues of Croydon. And I think all those very many filmmakers and film studios who have welcomed this announcement today with open arms will have heard loud and clear what she has to say about the benefits of Croydon, and will hear what she has to say in the future. And I'm absolutely sure that Croydon and the young people that she represents will be part of the success story of this next chapter of our national story.
Gavin Williamson.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I very much welcome the statement that the Secretary of State has made. And one of the real challenges that we have in this sector, as she rightly points out, is skills. But of course, so many of those who are participating in this sector are often freelance. And I just ask the Secretary of State if she could look at giving some thought as to how we get some of the larger players to act as incubators, to actually bring through so much more of that talent and that support, as they're probably more capable of doing, with having the proper and full breadth of resources that are needed.
Can I thank him for that and say to him that I absolutely recognise the challenge that he lays down. The freelance sector represents 50% of the creative industries, and it's something that we're very alive to, both the need to protect the flexibility that exists within the industry, but also to make sure that people are treated well, paid well, and that there is that incubation and that talent pipeline that he talks about. The independent film sector is obviously absolutely crucial to that. I just mentioned 3 film directors, all of whom came up through the independent film sector. Some of our greatest work has been produced there, and then those people involved in that have gone on to produce blockbusters and others. But he's absolutely right to say that there are big players within the sector, some of whom are doing an incredible job at this, but by doing so, they prove that others could do more.
Chris Murray.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My constituency is not just a great backdrop for films, it's also home to the Edinburgh International Film Festival, which is the longest running film festival in the world. Given the critical role of film festivals in the film ecosystem, and particularly giving independent films a platform, does the Secretary of State agree with me that this is good news for film festivals too, and moreover as an example of the new Labour government delivering for Edinburgh?
Can I thank him for that, and also congratulate him on the debate that he held yesterday on the Edinburgh Film Festival. I know that he'll be an incredible champion for the creativity of his city. And it was a pleasure to meet him there several months ago to see the work that he and new colleagues had already started to do to really boost that work and to protect it in what are quite challenging economic circumstances. When I visited Edinburgh over the summer, I met with my counterpart in the Scottish Government. We're seeking a far more constructive and adult relationship with the Scottish Government than existed under the previous government, and also a far more direct relationship with the Scottish cultural sector. We are the UK government, and Scottish culture is one of our richest exports. It's one of our most incredible crown jewels in the whole UK cultural landscape, and it's something that we're determined to have a far more systematic and sustained relationship with the sector there to support.
Dr. Andrew Morrison.
The Secretary of State will understand that the boundaries between film, cinema, e-sports and gaming are increasingly diffuse, but the thing that they have in common
is digital and the need for digital skills. Does she agree with me that the Local Skills Improvement Fund has been crucial in developing digital skills across the country? And will she commend the work of Trowbridge College in particular and its Tech Trowbridge initiative, its Digital Skills Centre that has been facilitated by that fund, and hope with me that it will continue to be generous, and she's very welcome to visit Trowbridge at any time and see the excellent work that we are doing to advance digital in general and its contribution to the media industry, particularly around e-sports and gaming.
Well, I very much heard the pitch for Trowbridge loud and clear, and he can consider that to be duly noted by those of us on the government benches. Can I say to him as well that he's absolutely right about digital skills, and that the boundaries between some of the creative industries are increasingly blurred as many more of the creative industries find themselves online. Our government is committed to introducing a digital inclusion strategy. We will be producing that shortly, and that will have a strong emphasis on digital skills. This country has been without a digital inclusion strategy for 10 years, and during that time other countries have leapt ahead of us. We're determined that that's no longer going to be the case, and I very much hope that the great work that's going on in his constituency will be at the centre of it.
Andrew Pearce.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I welcome very much today's statement, but also the moves to increase the number of film studios. The independent sector has the ability not just to tell our diverse stories, but also to transform and create a more diverse workforce. I had a great privilege for much of my working career to represent freelancers in BEC2 and represent the creative industry unions. What message would my honourable friend have today for BEC2, the Musicians Union and Equity, who do tremendous work in this area, as well as young people in my constituency in Peterborough looking to join the film industry, that this won't just change the way, create more jobs, it will also create a more diverse set of jobs in all parts of the country.
Yeah, can I thank him for that, and can I also pay tribute to the unions who work in this field. In particular, I've been held discussions with BEC2 and the Musicians Union in recent weeks, and I'm very grateful for their insight, their expertise, and all the work they do to support our amazing creative workforce. I absolutely recognise the challenges that he lays out, particularly over the course of the strike. Many workers have found it very, very difficult, and many studios as well. It's something that our government is very, very aware of, coming off the back of a global pandemic that obviously had posed major challenges for this industry. We're aware that the situation of many workers and many institutions in the creative industries is extremely fragile, and it's something that we're absolutely committed to working hand in glove with our unions to resolve.
Clive Jones.
Madam Deputy Speaker, Berkshire is the Hollywood of the United Kingdom, and I am proud that Wokingham contributes to its success. Whether it's the stages of the Arborfield film studios or my constituents commuting to the Shinfield studios. Today's announcement is a very, very welcome step, and it is great support for our independent film industry, which is crucial to our local economy. But can the Secretary of State confirm when the guidance regarding business rates, tax relief, will be published?
Can I thank him for that? I don't think I've ever think it's been said in this House that Berkshire is the Hollywood of the United Kingdom, but I will absolutely take his word for it and look forward to visiting at some point in due course. And he's absolutely right to raise the issue about the guidance for business rates. We're aware that this is a pressing issue. I'm afraid I can't give him a date today, but it is very much at the top of our agenda and will be forthcoming very shortly.
Alison Hume.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I warmly welcome my right honourable friend's statement. Does she agree with me that it's absolutely vital that our creative skills pathway reaches into coastal communities so that talented young people in constituencies such as mine in Scarborough and Whitby have access to training and have the opportunity to help fill the creative skills gap?
Can I thank her very much for that? And she's absolutely right. She's a fantastic champion for Scarborough and Whitby. And our coastal communities have so much to offer this country. They have offered so much in the past when it comes to tourism, to music, to nightlife. And I was very privileged to go with my honourable friend, the member for Blackpool, recently to see the incredible work that's going on in that coastal community to really help to develop the incredible creative pipeline of talent that comes out of communities like his and like hers. And we are absolutely committed to making sure that coastal communities that have played such an important part in our cultural life for generations and mean so much to so many families in the UK, including my own, are at the centre of our new renaissance.
Steph Ackrowan.
Deputy Speaker, as a very former independent producer who once cast a culture secretary in a film, I can say that confirmation of the tax relief is indeed welcome. Closer to home, North Norfolk is a blossoming film industry. I'm sure she will be aware of the film Alpha Papa, where Alan Partridge met his fate on Cromer Pier. Yeah. However, lack of rural transport makes it hard for young creatives to live and work in my constituency. Can the Secretary of State tell me what discussions she has had with her colleagues at the Department of Transport about ensuring jobs in this exciting industry are accessible for all?
Can I thank him genuinely for that question? He raises such an important issue. I've already held discussions with the Transport Secretary about the issues for young people being able to have access to art, sport, music and creativity in their communities because of the challenges of transport. I recognise exactly what he says from my own constituency in Wigan, which is for the most part a very rural constituency. He's right to raise the issue about the impact on employment and on the industry of the lack of rural transport, and that is something that I will commit to taking away and talking to the Transport Secretary in order to resolve.
Jessica Turl.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Can I welcome the Government's commitment to supporting our film and creative industries in all parts of the country? My constituency, Bournemouth West, supports the full life cycle of our film industries, from our universities that train our technicians, producers and actors, to the world-leading post-production companies we have that provide VFX work for big-budget film and TV productions. So can I ask what more can be done to boost investment in jobs in the creative industries in Bournemouth and in the South West?
Thank you for that question, and to say that she does a very good job of singing the virtues of Bournemouth, but it is something that our government was very, very aware of. Universities in particular are incredibly important to the plans that we have to put rocket boosters under the creative industries. Only yesterday I was at Pinewood Studios, where the partnership that they have with the local university is introducing young people to skills and opportunities that some of them told me yesterday they would never have dreamed of having. I met a young woman who is currently undertaking a course. She had a dream to work in the creative industries and in film in particular since she watched Mrs. Doubtfire as a child and saw the amazing work that you could do through hair, makeup and prosthetics. It gives you an idea of how enormous the ecosystem of good skilled jobs is out there in the creative industries if we get this right, and we are absolutely determined to make that happen.
Jim Shannon.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Can I thank the Minister very much for her statement and for her clear energy and enthusiasm. It's incredibly infectious. I think we're all enthused to be an actor. If that's possible for me, I don't know if it is or not. That's by the way. It is no secret that Northern Ireland has produced some of incredible films over the last couple of years, including Belfast and, of course, The Irish Goodbye, where scenes were filmed in Saintfield, formerly in my constituency of Strangford. It is great to hear of the increased tax relief on production costing up to £15 million. So can the Minister provide assurances that all devolved regions, including and in particular Northern Ireland, will feel the full effects of the tax relief in order to help generate our film industry in Northern Ireland as well? Thanks so much.
Can I thank him very much for that and for his kind words. He's got so enthusiastic that he isn't at the end of this session for once, which is very unsettling. But I really appreciate what he said. Can I reassure him on that point that for every independent film that is made, this announcement today will put £6.36 million additional revenue on their budgets. It means that, as many independent filmmakers told me yesterday, that they're then able to de-risk their projects and attract attract far more private investment to be able to support them to make the films that they want to make. And there are already films that have been given the go-ahead because they knew this announcement was coming and because we've laid the legislation today. And can I just say on a very personal note that I'm very, very well aware of what Northern Ireland can offer to the people of the United Kingdom, because Derry Girls is my favourite TV show, bar none.
Josh Fenton Glynn.
Madam Deputy Speaker, the film industry was worth £850,000 to Calderdale last year alone, and it is from Marvel to Happy Valley. I think it's obvious what the real Hollywood of the UK is. and that there is only one Collywood. Does the Secretary of State agree with me that the film industry must be part of developing our economies outside of London? And will you agree to work with me to make sure that we attract more brilliant film and TV projects to Calderdale and beyond?
Hear, hear. Can I thank him very much for that? And I think if he's even come up with a name, I have to say with sadness to the honourable gentleman opposite, I think he's currently winning this war. I very much recognise what he says about Calderdale, and not least because I've visited with him and seen the huge benefits that film and TV has brought to his constituency, and also the amazing talent that it's been able to showcase. Think about shows like Happy Valley. I think not just about the incredible backdrops that represents in his beautiful constituency, but also the amazing women writers that it brings to the fore, great actresses like Sarah Lancashire. It really does show the best of what our country in the north of England has to offer, and he is a fantastic champion for them.
Paul Wall.
Madam Deputy Speaker, can I welcome this statement just as I welcome the cross-party consensus on the brilliance of the Paddington films. And here I'd like to declare a family interest. My wife's cousin, Rosie Allison, is the executive producer of those amazing Paddington films, and the House won't have long to wait. Paddington 3 is coming out in November the 8th. But can I say, as far as Rochdale is concerned, it's a fantastic location for filming, whether it's a magnificent town hall or our moorlands or Hollingworth Lake, where the recent TV series on the BBC, The Jetty, was filmed. Rochdale Development Agency are currently exploring setting up a Rochdale film office. Does she agree with me that this new tax break may well encourage that development?
I'm really grateful to him for that, and can I convey my thanks to his wife's cousin for her role in British cultural life, and maybe perhaps put in a plea for a cameo in Paddington 4. Is that an abuse of the... I'm not sure, that might be an abuse of the dispatch. Can I also say to him that I think the work that is happening in Rochdale is incredibly exciting and shows that it need not just be our major cities that play an absolutely central part in our cultural life. Towns like his and mine and many of the honourable members on all of our benches who represent towns and villages across our country have made an incredible contribution to this country's cultural life, and we are absolutely determined that they will continue to do so.
Lewis Atkinson.
Madam Deputy Speaker, can I welcome the announcement today, and in particular its opportunity to capitalise further investment in new facilities. In my constituency, on the banks of the River Wear, the opportunity to develop Crownworks studios with 19 new sound stages and £450 million of international investment is there. So can she work with me to think about how we build on today's announcement and how use that to not just safeguard existing facilities, but build new facilities in the likes of the North East?
Yeah, can I thank him very much for that? And myself and my honourable friend have already held discussions with the film industry to talk about what more major studios can do to help to create the supply chain that supports initiatives like the fantastic work that he referenced in his own constituency. And we will absolutely commit as a new government and as a ministerial team to engaging fully with him to make sure that we unlock the true potential of the whole of this country, and that we put rocket boosters not just under the existing infrastructure but under these new exciting projects that are emerging right across the country.
Peter Swallow.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Let me say there's cross-party support for Paddington, and there's also cross-party support for Berkshire being the Hollywood of the UK. Last week, other Berkshire MPs and I visited Shinfield Studios, a new state-of-the-art film studio in my honourable friend, the member for Early and Woodley's constituency. And there we heard how important the skills were to promoting further growth across Berkshire. So I welcome the Secretary of State's commitment on skills today.
Does she agree that getting the right support for skills in place is vital for ensuring growth for Berkshire's film industry, vital for ensuring opportunities for my constituents in Bracknell to access the great opportunities that this industry have to offer?
Absolutely, and he's absolutely right to say that as well as the amazing investment that we're seeing flowing into the United Kingdom that is opening up opportunities for good jobs and investment, we also need to make sure that people in every part of our country can benefit from those good jobs and investment. I met recently with Stephen Knight from Peaky Blinders, who's running an incredible project in Birmingham where he's setting up a film studio and recruiting 20% of the local workforce from the 5 most deprived postcodes in Birmingham. He's doing it because it's the right thing to do, but he's also doing it because it makes good business sense, because having a good local skilled workforce is a significant attraction for overseas investors when they choose where to invest. We think that's a model that we could draw upon in other parts of the country, and I look forward to working with him to make sure that Berkshire feels the full benefit of that.
Bram Moon.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I really welcome the Secretary of State's statement to support this vital sector today. The Cornish creative industry is a vital part of the Cornish economy, and we have a burgeoning independent Cornish language film industry led by the remarkable work of our own Mark Jenkin. But it needs careful nurturing and support in line with Cornish national minority status. Can I invite the Secretary of State to come to Cornwall to meet the industry and to understand why our Cornish language film industry is so important to us?
Thank him for that, and for drawing attention to the fact that this is a country that is far stronger for the rich cultural inheritance and diversity that we have in different parts of the country. I'm a huge proponent of devolution, as is our government, and one of the reasons that we are is because we know that we are stronger for our differences across the country. We're not weakened by them. It's why I said very early on when I took on this job that we want to see an end to these politically driven culture wars. This country is stronger when we come together and celebrate our rich diversity. And so I'm very, very pleased to say that I absolutely accept the invitation. My honourable friend, the Minister of State, will meet with him and will come and visit his constituency to see the work that is being done. I was very struck by the phrase that he used, careful nurturing. I think he probably speaks for many members on all sides of this House when we talk about the creative industries, that the work that we are developing is absolutely, it's exciting, it's vibrant, but it's also very fragile, and we need to make sure that we do that work to carefully nurture it so that we can unlock its true potential, and this government stands right behind him in helping to do that.
Debbie Abrahams.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. And I also welcome this fantastic statement, certainly of the creative industries as a whole, but particularly the film industries, punch above their weight internationally. She mentioned Steve McQueen in her opening remarks, and he famously said about the challenges that he faced as a young black man succeeding in the industry and the support that he had to get from others, including Denzel Washington, I understand. So with this, what can we do, not just to ensure that there's geographical equality, but also that there's better equality within the sector as a whole, particularly for deprived and ethnic minority communities and our young people in those?
I'm really grateful to her for raising it. It's something that we on these government benches are absolutely exercised about. For far too long, not only have the creative industries been very concentrated in one part of the country, but more and more over the years they've become harder and harder for the full range of talent in this country to see themselves represented in and to be able to break into and have opportunities. I think about our former colleague Glenda Jackson. What would the route be for a Glenda Jackson today? That's a question that our government absolutely has to be able to answer. We've already started some of that work. We've been talking to some of the big institutions who have a central role to play in this. I've been very struck that there is some great work going on that we could extend. The Royal Shakespeare Company, for example, is going into schools all over the country, but particularly in areas of deprivation or where there is a very low cultural offer, in order to help boost confidence, employability, and also open up young people's options, not just to help them have dreams, they all have dreams, but to help them have a plan to get there. That is the intention of our government, and I'd be absolutely delighted to work with my honourable friend to achieve that.
Sean Davies.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. This is great news for my region in the West Midlands, Boston news, in fact, and also for special places like the World Heritage Site in my constituency, Ironbridge Gorge. Kind of a commitment from the Secretary of State that across the department, things like the Living Museum Bliss Hill will be protected so that film industries and productions can film there for many years to come.
Can I thank him for that? And he does actually, genuinely, despite the rivalry going on between these benches, have a claim to be one of the cultural hubs of this country. Can I say to him too that we're very aware of the challenges that he and his constituents are currently facing in terms of preserving that cultural offer. We are absolutely on the case, and I look forward to working with him to make sure that we protect that cultural offer for generations to come.
Luke Murphy.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker, and I really welcome the statement along with other colleagues. Last week I had the pleasure of opening a state-of-the-art media suite at the Basingstoke College of Technology, which uses similar high-tech facilities as used in Star Wars. So I'm afraid I do have to inform colleagues that the Hollywood of the UK is near Berkshire, but it's actually in Hampshire. But does she agree with me that investment in facilities like that to ensure that we are able to provide the education and skills for the people that want to go into the industry in future is incredibly important? And might I ask perhaps one of the ministers in her department perhaps to visit the facility in order to meet the students that are learning on that brand new high-tech facility?
Yeah, can I thank him for that and say to him he would have made a much more compelling case that his constituency was really the Hollywood of the UK if he'd come dressed as a stormtrooper, so perhaps he might consider that next time. Can I also say to him that in terms of education and skills, I very much agree with him, but we're also very acutely aware that in some parts of the country the opportunities to do work experience, to have mentoring, to meet people who do these jobs and therefore believe that those are jobs that you or someone like you could go on to do is extremely limited. We're looking at what we can do around that, because he's right to raise acting, but it's not just acting, it's the whole range of jobs that the creative industry supports that, you know, a young person like me would never have dreamt of going into because we simply wouldn't have known about them. I want to make sure that we break that cycle and that this next generation knows that there is no limit on what they can achieve with the help of this Labour government.
I'll now give the front benches some time to change over and settle down before we start on the business of the day.